cousins, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not. Let's get into it. I don't know about you, but I just realized something about what it means to, quote, vibe with someone. Sorry, I was using the swipe off my mic. Prior to this eureka moment, I truly thought that if you don't gel with someone, or if they weren't a fan of your, quote, vibe, then it was a you problem, like that it was your fault and you'd done something wrong. But the wool has been removed from my eyes. Is that the phrase? The sheet has been yanked from over my head. The truth has been revealed, whichever way you slice it. I don't know if it's the truth as much as it is my truth, but also and as well. I've realized that someone not vibing with you has more to do with them than it does with you. If you're not someone's cup of tea, that's that and a partridge in a pear tree. And I know it may seem like a rudimentary thought, I know. Everyone doesn't have to like me, news. But it took me a little bit of time to get there. Theater kid energy. That's what we're talking about today. What does it mean, really, theater kid energy? Well, as someone who spends an ungodly amount of time on the internet, I can attest to the fact that someone saying that you have theater kid energy is very seldom meant as a compliment. So I thought to myself this week, why is that? Why is it that theater kid energy is something that strikes a chord in people in the worst way? Let's talk about the different potential reasons. Chapter 1, the evolution of the theater kid trope. Yeah, we're getting to these quick today. Love y'all, but this is, we're skipping the elongated intros this time. I'm going to make the assumption, because this is, a one-way medium and there's no actual way you can confirm or deny the statement in real time, that the term theater kid makes the show Glee pop in your head. The Rachel Berry kind of archetype. Now, if you don't know who Rachel Berry is, you're probably untalented. I'm kidding. We do not media shame here. I didn't watch Glee when I was in its prime either. Don't tell my agent. But in case you're like me, Rachel Berry is what, from a contemporary lens, would be understood as a talented, yet extremely intense and often manipulative high school glee club member whose entire world revolved around being in the spotlight. And if I'm honest, listen, we're not naming names, no. But I do know Homo sapiens who, at this stage in life and even in years afterward, fit into this archetype. But I would argue that their personal development journey or lack thereof is less about their interest in theater and more about the influences that surround them. When you grow up in an environment where the people who are the most vile, the most manipulative, and the most toxic eventually get what they want purely because they're talented, you don't see a problem with that behavior. After all, you are the sum of the people you're around most of the time. I truly believe that. And pardon my BFA, but sometimes the people you're around are just as traumatized as you are. What a mess. What a sloppy, adolescent, validation-hungry slop pile. If you know, you know. Not to mention that most of these theater programs tend to attract the misfits in a given environment, or people with a ton of money. It's either or, really. The people who, in terms of self-esteem, have the most to lose. This is where you get the, straight boy musical theater stereotype where men drunk with power that they've never had access to before end up abusing it amongst their peers. And if we fast forward through time, they're subordinates. You hate to see it. In many cases within the industry, those people even retain the power after they're outed for their heinous behavior. Though that has started to change a little bit, someone being too talented to ignore, and the idea of separating the artist from the art still takes center stage in the midst of these conflicts. So, as you've learned from this first section, a lot of the gripe people tend to have with those who emit theater energy emissions into the atmosphere of, the polluting kind of emissions is warranted. But what I find interesting is that in the midst of these valid criticisms, you'll always find those people who dislike, quote, theater people until they become celebrities. Some of our faves, I say our, referencing public opinion, not necessarily me, the person, but just referencing public opinion and the temperature of the internet. Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Ryan Gosling are theater people. I mean, Viola went to Juilliard, for heaven's sakes, for what? For theater. She's lesbian. She is president of the Thespians in my book. You open my book and it says her name as president of the Thespians. But she doesn't give theater kid energy. And because I like to have a balanced perspective, I recognize that there's a difference between being a person who does theater, or even a person who is passionate about theater, and someone with theater kid energy. So let's define theater kid energy, right? Because I made it a little muddy for you. Sorry, and you're welcome. In order to talk about what theater kid energy is, we, of course, we would be remiss to not talk about what theater kid energy is not. I made that sound so confusing. All I'm saying is what we're talking about is what theater kid energy is not. Wow. Chapter 2, theater kid energy versus too cool for school. To make sure we're on one accord in this episode, I'm classifying theater kid energy as the following: acting in what would be interpreted as an overly excited manner, probably like the stereotypical person with ADHD. 2, probably displaying autistic traits, like being interested in something that's niche, but being really knowledgeable about it. 3, generally having a friendly, bubbly demeanor. And 4, this one isn't in my notes, but I'm going to add it, seeming like an outsider or an outcast, or not the mainstream kind of personality that gets along with everybody. Maybe has very few friends. You feel, you vibe, you smell what I'm cooking? So basically, if we were to use a trope to describe another trope, she's the antithesis of the cool girl. And I say she as a blanket pronoun, like this person is not the cool one in the group. For example, I've been told that I have theater kid energy. I'm ready to read myself. Yes, I am. And here's why that used to push my buttons. Emphasis on the used to. I reached adolescence during the era where the quote cool girl really thrived. You remember her, don't you? She's aloof. She doesn't care. She doesn't text first, and she still gets the guy. She's not a try-hard like a Rachel Berry, but she still, through it all, gets what she wants, almost as if through pure luck, as if everything just plops in her lap without her having to try at all. And maybe it's even because she's not trying that she ends up having things plopped in her lap. It's associated with a value system. Instead of the ethos of trying hard is good, the cool girl supports the ethos that trying hard is bad and not trying at all is good or favorable in a social environment specifically. And I know I'm digging through the weeds and reading into things, but what am I to do? What is a hyperfixated autistic to do? Now that we internet consumers and self-reflective human beings have taken a beat, we realize why this trope, the cool girl trope in the media and the idolization of this kind of person in real life even, is problematic. But when I didn't know what I know now, y'all, we were all over it. We loved the cool girl. We wanted to be the cool girl. We wanted to date the cool girl. She was the Jennifer Lawrence. She was the person who ate pizza at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. She was the one who didn't care. She was the one we wanted to become because we cared so much and still didn't get the things we thought we deserved. And so the way I interpret this as a, social cultural observer is that this is a personification of our hopes and dreams, of getting what we want without having to try as hard and being exhausted the way that we were at that point. At that point, my age group had worked so hard for things to not get them. And then this cool girl aesthetic, this cool girl persona was like a relief, almost as if to tell us that we didn't have to try as hard in order to get what we wanted, that in fact not trying hard was what was going to get us what we wanted. There has to be some deep dive. There has to be some think piece on the internet about that. Let me know if you find one in the comments, because there's something there. There's something juicy there. Especially when it comes to dating. Like women in particular, we are just, I think at that point we were so used to tropes that urged women to be perfect, to be the perfect body type, to be the perfect body size, to have the perfect hair, to have the perfect teeth, perfect lips, those archetypes that were created by men in the industry. And I think the cool girl, also created by men in the industry, let's not be confused, was almost like bait for us, as if to say, be this kind of woman now, and you'll get the kind of man that you want. You'll get the kind of life that you want. Be this kind of woman now. That kind of woman is old. That kind of woman is gone. It's like the same tools to get the same results. It's in different packaging, but it's the same tool. I don't know. It's the duality of a woman feeling this desire to be validated by men in order to attain certain things, in order to be normalized in society. And it's men who are in charge of these studios and these production companies and these writing teams constructing these archetypes in order to keep women in line. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know. Or to like trick us into thinking that that's what we actually wanted to be. But at the end of the day, being the cool girl never really served us. It just served the men we wanted to attract. Now, I was convinced that this archetype, the cool girl, was the only kind of person guys wanted to date. And prying for male attention is triggering. Makes my stomach do backflips. But we have to acknowledge that it's a very human experience. You know what? We do need to talk about that, actually. So here's another mini detour. I'm gonna need us to stop acting like prying for male attention is something that we can't possibly understand, as self-actualized as we are today. You know, mind you, I will never publicly or privately let a man's opinion of me dictate how I feel about myself. But I've been there. You know, I've put on a little more perfume or worn a different dress or tight pants because I wanted a guy to notice me. And if more people were honest with themselves, they'd acknowledge that they've been there too. And maybe they'd acknowledge how close to there they currently are, even. And back on course we go. So we used to love the cool girl, and now we know that the cool girl was often used as a tool for men who date women to not be held accountable for their actions. Yada, 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 we know that now. What happened, though, was we killed the bee, but we left the stinger. We squashed the concept, but we didn't pluck it from the root. Whether people want to admit it or not, we don't like people who are unapologetically trying. You know, you can tell a lot about a society, about what it values based on the celebrities it uplifts. That being said, I think there's one celebrity in particular who's been in the news lately that I would be remiss to overlook as we chat about theater kid energy. Hi, Anne. Hi, Annie. Hi, Anne Hathaway. We were so unkind to this woman. We owe this woman an apology. Not we, but the general public collectively. Our unproblematic Queen of Genovia didn't do anything but exist. And we said, stop it. Stop smiling. Stop giggling. If you don't know what I'm referring to, I'm referencing the way people in social media, on TikTok and other places, circa 2001, and even now, made fun of Anne for her doe-like theater person demeanor. I remember there was an award show where she won, I think it was an Oscar, and her acceptance speech was just so giddy and, from the way I saw it, genuine. She was like welling up and people made fun of her. She was just like in the moment of like, wow, my dream came true. That's really crazy that came true. And people flamed her for it. Y'all need to get a grip, because y'all need to just let this woman live. She was just having her moment and people got mad. And as someone who's been on an award stage, a much smaller award stage, but an award stage nonetheless, being up there can be really shocking. Like, it can be really like, oh, what, who, where, jarring, no matter how much you prepare for that moment. And especially if you win. I'm pretty sure the blood was rushing to her head at that moment. I don't know her. She don't know me, but I can imagine, right? There was also more recently a clip of her stating her boundaries with rowdy fans in a calm, gentle demeanor. And people ate her up, claiming she was condescending. For people are just bored, I'm learning. Is people have 9 to 5s, but they just need hobbies. And here's what I really think is going on, though. Chapter 3, the fear of trying. Like I said before, we hate to see people trying. But we especially hate when that person is ourselves. We are terrified of looking like we want something because maybe, just maybe, it reveals that something is missing, or that there's a code we haven't yet cracked, or that we're stupid, unskilled, or not worthy of the successes we seek to obtain. Let me tell you something about entrepreneurship. It'll knock that fear right out of you. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Billy Bob. It will knock it out of you. And if it doesn't, then you're doing it wrong. That's the only way you can do it wrong, is if you're not getting the wind knocked out of you. If you're not facing rejection every day. That's literally the only way to do entrepreneurship incorrectly. If you haven't made a major mistake, you might as well pack it up. Time to go. You have to be willing to fall on your face. Like, truly, the only thing that could have possibly prepared me for a career in media was falling on my face over and over again. And I know falling on your face isn't fun. Being embarrassed isn't fun. But the other option is to completely cower at the whims of whatever kind of personality is popular for the next few months. And as we have seen, at this point, it can happen. One personality can be popular in January, completely out of style come February. The villains can become the heroes. The heroes can become the villains. I don't make the rules. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time where I thought to myself, I wish I was less sensitive. I wish I could just let things roll off my back and that I didn't care about anything. Because I don't know, autism makes you feel everything all of the time. But I don't wish that anymore. If you're the kind of person who feels like your personality is out of style, it's not. Because there's no such thing. It's all fake. It's all fake. And maybe you just need to get off the internet because the internet can make you think that the abominable snowman is real. Especially if you're a woman, because it's rare that a woman can do anything without people being mad at her. Misogyny aside, I hope you know that it is okay to want things, to try things, to want relationships and then do something about it, to seek opportunities earnestly. You should not be embarrassed about being the kind of person who is not afraid to be seen. Because this is what I realized. This is the tea. Most people are afraid to be seen. Most people want to be able to hide and put on their little mask and tuck themselves in at night and wish themselves a great next performance the next day. Because all of this that I'm doing out here is a performance, and I'm about to get employee of the month too. We're all performing at all times. I've said this in another episode. But there are people who take that performance to the next level and intimate, like make it a core pillar to who they are. But as, I critique the critiques of Theater Kid Energy, I also realize that the overzealous, try-hard attitude that the people who fit into that archetype might possess, as much as it can be genuine, it also has the opportunity to be wildly unhealthy at the end of the day. The same ambition that propelled Rachel Berry to stardom harmed a ton of people in her vicinity. She left traumatized people in her wake. And in modern media, we reflect on her character as someone who had several missed opportunities for learning empathy and self-reflection. I would hope that if you are someone who naturally has over-the-top energy, whatever that means, that it's not coming from a place of needing validation from other people. Can I say that? Because people will dislike you for a plethora of reasons. Lots and lots of reasons. Too quiet, too earnest, too intense, not intense enough, too relaxed. You will not please everyone. It's not possible. But you can make sure you are happy with who you are and what you're putting out into the world at the end of the day. That's all I have for you. I hope you have a brilliant Sunday. Oh, it is Sunday. I am tired and I'm about to do a preview tonight. And a 5-hour rehearsal. Yeah. So it's going to be a day, but we're excited. I'm excited for you to like, share, and subscribe to this episode, and for you to browse my other episodes as well. But I'm mostly excited for you to become a patron. So click that link for the Patreon if you want more exclusive videos. Be blessed. Stay weird. Bye. About you, but I just realized something. Testing. Hi, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist.